What's up, everyone? Welcome. So let's go over some of the trades I took today. This is also going to be some education on, recent zones and how zones are subjective and stuff like that. Look what's happening with gold right now. Anyway, yeah, wow, look at that. So much volume. Anyway, so let's take a look at the first trade, right? So the first trade analysis was something like this. So now we had a support forming around 23.66. Price broke down. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Price broke down and then we started to go back up in the range. So as price was going back up in the range, I took a buy position. This was the buy position I took right here. Sorry, right over here, anticipating price to push up. It actually went in profits. So I put my stop loss at break even. Price went down and stopped me out, right? So I'm like, okay, let's see if we will continue to push up or not. So as I was looking at the fact whether we can continue to push up or not, looked at the 30-minute time frame, and I noticed that even if this candle is closing back up in the range and I do take a buy, how how far is the next resistance? So if I measure, next resistance was literally 17 pips away. So I'm thinking that okay, instead of me looking for a buy now, maybe it's going to be better if I wait for price to break above, 23.69, and then I can have a bigger range to take a buy. That makes sense, right? That makes absolute sense. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I can't take a buy over here, right? I can't take a buy now. What else can be happening here? So I'm like, okay, well, maybe if we can create resistance, then price can continue to push down. And the reason why we should continue to push down was also that maybe if we can get some sort of confirmation on the 1 hour, we can fill the 1 hour wick. So by the way, this is all broken down on the YouTube as well. The link is shared down as well, right? So maybe we can push down to fill this wick. Okay, if we can pull down to fill this wick, we need some confirmations, right? So on the 30-minute, now looking at the 30-minute, I needed a good entry because I didn't want to wait for the 30-minute to close, and the reason why was because this is like a 44 pip range. So I switched over to the 15-minute. I'm like, okay, let's switch over to the 15-minute, see what's going on. So I switched over to the 15-minute, and the first sell attempt. Wait a minute. Okay, so this was a buy. I gave my buy a second chance, but then I closed it, realizing that the bodies of the candles are getting smaller. So as the bodies of the candle on the 15-minute are getting smaller, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. If the bodies are getting smaller, then that means maybe we can continue to push down. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe then this is a low right over here, which is also the 1 hour wick fill. Maybe we can continue to push down in this, 39.40 pip range. So I'm like, okay, let's see whether we can look for some sort of a sell. And then this is where the first sell I took right over here. I took the first sell, and the stop was above this current candle, but I guess price didn't want to come down at that point, so it kind of like wicked up and stopped me out. And then I gave myself a second chance. I took another sell right over here as this candle flipped bearish. As this candle flipped bearish, as it broke its own low, I took a sell. Stop was above this candle, but I guess this candle came up way too high and stopped me out. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Now, what can we do next? Next was that, okay, if this candle breaks the low of the previous candle, maybe then we have a high probability for price to continue pushing down because we were also in, what time was this? This was around London Open. If we can break below this low, there's a high probability we can continue to push down. So I gave myself one chance. I gave myself, the second chance. The first chance was very risky because I didn't wait for any confirmations. The second chance was actually when we broke below the low, weaker confirmation. And then this sell right over here, as we broke below the low, this was a much stronger confirmation. So this was a much stronger confirmation because now the candle is actually breaking below this low. And I was so confident. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take one entry. One was right over here. I took a second entry right over here as well. All this is explained clearly on YouTube. The link is there as well. So that was good. And that was also like, this also speaks volumes in terms of experience as well, because, experience speaks at this point. I was very confident. I didn't change my bias. And that confidence led me to have a nice win, which overshadowed my losses because my losses were around $250, and these wins, I was up in profits for about $78, right? And then price did what it had to do. We basically started to consolidate, and then we started to push up, and then we pushed up. So let's talk about this buy. This buy I have, this buy was only taken based off of the 1 hour and the 4 hour, which is something I also posted in Discord, right? So based on the 4 hour, we were bullish. So let me remove this zone. Let me remove this zone, right? So based on the 4 hour, you can see 4 hour price action. We are bullish. And before this candle pushed up, we were somewhere down over here. Let me show you in this one here. If I scroll up, scroll up, scroll up, let's take a look at this. So this was the 4 hour candle right here. This was the 4 hour candle before it pushed up. It broke the low before, but that was not on the 30-minute, right? This is where we were waiting for London close. So London close volume came and actually pushed price up. So if we go back right here, if you look on the 1 hour time frame, you can see this is where the entry was taken. Once this 1 hour candle broke above this rejection wick, because this candle was very strongly bullish at one point and it rejected. I didn't want to take a buy as the candle broke the previous high. I want to take a buy once we broke above this high for price to continue to push up. So let's take a look at this right over here, right? So this is where the buy went in. You can see this right here. Buy went in, broke above the high, we moved up. Looking at the 30-minute time frame, this is also breaking above the highs. So like, we moved up. Now the stop loss was, the stop loss was right over here, like about 35, 40. But I was very careful to know that I will be able to manage my risk. I was very careful of the fact, but also I was very confident in these buys moving up because the trend on the 4 hour was bullish, the daily was bullish, the 1 hour candle was breaking above these highs. We had this range to fill around 23.74. So this is basically, I'm going to say, this is where experience speaks at this point. Now, a lot of traders, they also knew price is going to push up, but the confidence to execute wasn't there, which you only get with time. The more you see these moves happen, the more confident you get. So if I look at my average pips, so now let's take a look at all the history and let's take a look at all the big pip wins. So the biggest loss I've had was about 25 pips. The biggest win I've had, 186, 134, 90, 81, and then as it moved down, average, look at the average. The average is between 20 and 10.15. 20 and 10.15, that's the average. Very rarely I get bigger moves. So hope this helps. This was the most important part where we learned some lessons right over here as this 1 hour candle came down to fill this wick. This whole breakdown I did on the 30-minute and the 15-minute. But always when you finish your trading day, always go over the charts, make some notes, look to see where you could have done better, and look to see where you did bad. How could you have made that bad a little bit less bad? Like, you know what I'm saying? A little bit less bad. Anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow for NFP.